Are we the last human generation? Is asking a very interesting and thought provoking question. And for people looking at this question, the answers may come from various fields, from ecology and environmental concerns to technology and post humanism and so on. For our discussion here, we are trying to limit ourselves to the arenas of literature, writing, and certain things that come in literary expressions such as AI, large language models, technology, and AI in education, etc. We are living in a time where, at least in the Indian context or the local context, parents are worried about their children getting under the influence of their smartphones, while the same parents later on, after scolding their children, get away with their own smartphones. So, this question for us is a very important one. Are we the last human generation in relation to particularly technology and the use of AI? Good morning to you all also. So let's get the discussion going. To begin with, I will ask Anna to describe or to talk a few words about her recent book, which is talking about AI in education.
Okay, yeah. Hello, everybody. Hello, India. I do a short summary of my book, so you get an insight what it is about. In the book, it's about an introduction of an eye tracking of young students, very young students, from 7 on, and their learning is eye tracked. So that's the setting. And there is one teacher who is kind of against it, asking questions. And obviously, she is laughed at because these are the modern times. And on the other hand, there is this startup company who was able to sell it to schools, obviously in very positive terms. It's all the best for the children, all the best for the young generation. And they're rubbing their hands because they're also getting free data from these children from very early on. And obviously, they can do something with it, they can sell it. So the book is interested in these questions of education, possibilities through AI, but also the question of profit and the market behind it.
Okay, Amrita has written a wonderful novel titled Real Life, and this book is touching upon a few important aspects of AI, particularly in relation to LLM, AI ethics, and chatbots. So, Amrita, would you like to speak a few words about it?
Good, good morning, everyone. Thanks for showing up bright and early at 10 a.m. My novel, Real Life, is about the disappearance of a wildlife biologist called Tara, who studies dholes or wild dogs in the Himalayas. And after she disappears, her best friend Mansi comes to the mountains, to the backpacker town from where Tara disappeared, to make sense of what may have happened to her best friend. And the main suspect is a man called Bhaskar, who's a machine learning scientist, an AI engineer, who has a connection to both women. What the novel really is about is the ways in which women disappear, both from the world and within the world. And it's also about what it means and what it takes for a woman to pursue a life that feels real, that feels authentic, in a society that's constantly trying to shape and control women. And AI and technology, of course, complicates the question of what is real and what is seen as valuable. AI is not a big part of my novel. It is a small subplot, but it serves the purpose of asking these questions around what is valuable in this world, what is authentic, what is real connection. Yeah, and I guess that's why I'm here.
Uh, so definitely, AI is it's not a big part of the novel, but it's a significant presence in the novel. So as a novelist, how do you understand or how do you explain your role talking about the issue of technology? We see technology, particularly AI and LLMs, as both highly positive and with somebody would say it has a highly negative aspect as well. So how do you place yourself as a writer in these talks?
I have a multifaceted relationship with AI. Apart from my fiction, I also work in public health, and I use AI to, to bring knowledge, information, expertise in low resource settings. I work in maternal and child health, and we use AI across multiple programs. So I would say I have a mixed relationship with AI. I am very optimistic about AI and the transformative power it can have in low resource settings, especially in health, where India has a big shortage of doctors, it has a shortage of frontline health workers. Even pregnant women, mothers of children, do not have access to the right information at the right time. So, there AI can play a big role. As a writer of fiction, the relationship gets a little more complicated. And I think I don't say this just about AI, but about the ways in which technology and tech based systems increasingly govern our lives, increasingly control our lives. Um, I I think what's interesting about fiction is that fiction offers space for complexity, it offers space for ambiguity. In a world that's increasingly governed by tech based systems, there are often, there's a sense of certainty, there are correct answers, but fiction offers room for more complexity. It tells us that human beings are not data points who can be fully known. Human beings are fundamentally unknowable and complex. And I think I write a lot for work as well. And the blog posts or white papers or research papers I write about AI, and I write about responsible AI, ethical AI as well. But that kind of writing primarily engages the intellect. Fiction engages not just the intellect but also imagination and empathy. So it's often more fertile ground to plant these questions, seed these questions in the minds of readers. And again, my writing is not about imparting a message. My novel is not a vehicle for a set of rules on how we should navigate our rapidly changing world. But fiction is a way for me to make sense of the questions in my mind. It's a place for me to reflect on the world around me and my role in it. And I hope I can start some of these conversations, some of these, meditations in the minds of my readers too.
Okay, now I would like to ask the same question to Anna. Anna, you are a novelist, and what is your relationship with AI, and how optimistic or pessimistic are you about the use of AI or the future of AI?
Yeah, it's obviously a big question. And yeah, as you said yourself, as a novelist, you're not looking at one message, you want to look on all kind of angles of a problem. Me personally, of AI, I can see obviously the good things. We can't be without it. But I'm also very skeptical, exactly because of these forces behind it, and cash cow, which is also standing behind it, and especially in the context of education, private interest is different than an educational principle. So that's interesting. It shapes our world, it shapes our society. But it's in a novel, it's also not embarking a message. Also, we are, I guess, as novelists, we're trying to, to look at society, at people's very different, the different sides of people. It can't be just, one message is good, it's bad. But it's also a way of looking behind what's sold to be only good. Yeah.
Great. And in your novel, you are talking about AI, some AI interface being introduced in a school through the promotion, or the government is, the ministry is pushing an AI interface that will be used in school, and this machine or this tool will be looking at the activities of the students. Most importantly, it is going to scan their eyes all the time, and possibly make them better students or better people in the future. And how do you see this? Do you see this as an intrusion towards one's freedom, private space, or the dehumanization? Do you see it as a dehumanization process? Are we all slowly becoming machines at one end, and also are we slowly becoming data for the machines? What are your explorations on that?
Yeah, I don't think we are becoming machines. But I think there's a danger that we are driven by a kind of society where machine learning, or the learning with machines, and the machine is learning from us, is going to be very important. Maybe more important than just a teacher, a person who is there and wants to give a child a lecture for life or whatever. You know, it's so an eye tracking mechanism is highly intrusive. I see that in these. I can only see it in those terms, and it's sold for being free. I said that, but it's getting data from very early on. So this positive way, also selling things, I'm very skeptical about it. And this intrusion from early on, I see very skeptical. Yeah.
Yeah. So this AI has a problem because it is impersonal. So this is Amrita. You have written beautifully about AI, a chatbot. Somebody is making a chatbot with a personality, and this somebody is sort of using this chatbot or even abusing it verbally, and later the chatbot will also do the same thing. And you say you have many quotable quotes for that matter in your book. You say AI is called impersonal and it uses anonymous language, and it is elegant but hollow, whereas the human intelligence is always related to, or one of the most important features of human intelligence is our sentience, ability to feel emotions. How do we understand language models and human AI interaction in this light?
I'll give a little more context about the subplot that you referenced. one of the characters in the novel is a lonely man, and he works in the field of AI. And I wrote this section about 4 years ago, a few months before ChatGPT was released. And as soon as ChatGPT was released, suddenly AI entered the public consciousness, the public imagination in a way that wasn't true before. And I remember thinking, oh no, this is 6 months of work gone. I have to scrap this entire subplot because it's now very commonplace. I'm glad I did not, because what was supposed to be a slightly speculative part of the novel has now entered, living rooms, dining rooms, where everybody is talking about, the ways in which AI is transforming our lives. And OpenAI released a report last year, and they said that the top use case for ChatGPT was actually companionship or companions. AI as therapists, AI as coaches, AI friends, AI lovers. Uh, 4 years ago, when I started writing this section, it was unimaginable, right? It was quite out there. Now it's not. So yeah, so this character has an unhealthy relationship with somebody from his past, and he uses emails from this persona to train a chatbot, right? And for the longest time, this chatbot and he have a very good relationship. I mean, of course, it is seductive to have an AI friend, because AI sees you the way you want to be seen. It says what you want to hear, right? It encourages you. And there's enough research that shows that AI systems have been set up to eventually become sycophantic, right? That's the reward system that language models have been trained on. And real relationships are not like that. Real relationships have a lot of friction. They require investment, they require commitment, dedication, sacrifice. You challenge each other. So the friction that AI takes away is essentially, the friction that comes from confronting another person's freedom, another person's agency, autonomy. Uh, if you're interacting with a system that has no agency, no autonomy, that's built only to serve you, it's very seductive in the short term, but there's no meaning in that interaction. And you asked, the first question was around, the title of the panel itself is, are we the last human generation? And I was thinking about what it means to be human. And it's a very complex question, of course. But many years ago, I read a novel, The Tin Drum by Gunter Grass. I may be I'm sure I'm paraphrasing, but there's a line that stayed with me even 20 years later. To be human is to be childlike, curious, immoral, and complex, right? And AI is none of those things. Of course, it feeds our curiosity, like having this oracle that can answer all questions. It does feed our curiosity, but it's a very flat interaction. Uh, so if you're looking for knowledge, if you're looking for expertise, if you're looking for skills, sure, it's a great technology. If you're looking for connection, for empathy, I don't think you can strip friction from real human interactions and package it into a tidy chatbot.
Sure. We are all living a life that is mediated by technology and by AI so much so lately. So you are asking a very important question. What is it to be a human? I mean, the definition, our own definitions of being a human is undergoing changes. We are never sure whether we are the same human beings we used to be. And that is how the title of this session is making sense here. And I would like to.
Very, very quickly, I want to add one more thing. For me, to be human is to long for something, to yearn for something, to have to strive for it, and sometimes fail to get it. right? The striving, the reaching, the failure, those are very vital parts of being human. The friction of everyday life is what makes it meaningful. And this could be day-to-day interactions, it could be relationships, it could be the process of creating art as well. And that's my biggest fear with technology, that taking away this friction makes life less meaningful and makes us less human.
Uh, to Anna, how do you see or how do you consider the question, what is to be a human? Because you are a writer who started writing before the advent of I believe. You wrote before AI came into existence, and you are still, you're writing after the invention of AI. Of course, AI is growing, and we don't know where it is going to take us in the future. But as a writer, in both these times, before AI and with AI, I would say, rather than after AI, we are living with AI. So, how do you see the writing process? Are you the same human being as you were in 2011? Let's say, as a writer. I mean, not as an individual, but as a novelist. Are you the same person?
Yes, I mean, the question is, am I every day the same person? But in that, to answer that, yes, I am. I think I am the same person, but especially because I'm working really in a niche. And as a novelist, I think, as you said, AI produces flat texts, flat relationships. It's flat. So in my niche, it's not very flat. It's very bumpy, maybe as well, but it's not touching my sphere, and that's quite interesting because usually the niche, and it is a niche because it's a small, tiny market, at least already in Europe. Who reads who has the time, who wants to spend the time reading fiction, is getting under pressure. And so I'm relatively untouched, I think, yet. But obviously, I have concerns about it because maybe people want to or are told to read more or easier things, which you can just read also equally as a summary. You know, it doesn't matter. Is it a whole book or is it just a short summary? Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering what AI. I'm sticking to AI because you are mentioning the AI technology in education, particularly. So I was wondering, what does AI do to writers? Maybe both of you can answer. What is it doing to you as a writer? Because of for readers, I'm sure I know it to some extent, and some of the or most of the people sitting here or listening to this would be able to relate to the use of AI as readers. We use most of the available tools for summarizing, paraphrasing, uh, to extract information from an otherwise difficult or large text easily. All of those things as readers we are familiar, but for a writer, what does or how does AI um, uh, is useful to you or is changing you, or is it really is it if it is influencing you, if it is doing it at all? So maybe we can listen from Amrita.
Yeah, I mean, I can say when you're writing, there are few things as scary, as torturous as a blank page. So staring at a blank page is very difficult. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. It is very tempting to use shortcuts, and there's the ever present temptation of using an AI model. And to be honest, maybe 2-3 years ago the writing was very flat. Those gaps are also going away, right? I mean, I am sure uh, Claude and GPT and Gemini have access to my own books, because there was an expose done a few years ago about how LibGen, which has the pirated versions of almost all writing out there, including published books that are copyrighted. This is something that all AI models have been trained on. So obviously, it is tempting, and if not today, then 3 months from now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, there will be a model that can write exactly as well as I do. I won't deny the temptation to use these shortcuts. Uh, the reason I don't want to use these shortcuts is because the process of writing is something that's deeply meaningful to me. It is time that I carve out for myself. I'm a very different writer. If you'd asked me the same question that you asked Anna, I'm a very different writer from who I was 10 years ago. I'm a mother now. I have a 5-year-old son, which puts great pressure on my time. So there's less time available. But because I've written 2 books, I also have the confidence to know that uh, no matter how hard it gets, I will be able to get through any writing slump, right? There may be days when I may not be able to write a single line. Those days might turn into weeks, but there is a reward for not giving up. And with writing, the reason I write, as I mentioned before, is to make sense of the world. And it's to arrive at some level of truth and beauty. Um, finding truth and beauty from a complete tangle of thoughts and feelings and events and observation. And often the process of arriving at that place of truth and beauty is more important, is more beautiful than the final arrival, right? The readers only get to see the final product, but the writer gets to live through the entire journey. And I'm not trying to romanticize the struggle. In the moment, it feels absolutely awful. But at the end, the whole process carries more weight, carries more meaning, because you've gone through it, right? Yeah. That's a very long-winded answer. I don't even know if I answered your question. But speaking practically, I'm not averse to using it as a research tool. I use different methods of research for my books. My first book was set in 1970s, 1980s, 1990s Bombay. I had to do a lot of research. Some of it was primary research, interviewing people, but I also read books. I went through newspaper archives. If there is a way to get this information quickly, I will do it. I don't want to use it as a crutch for the actual writing.
Sorry that I, just for interest. So for you, it's really hard as a process, writing. I was like,
Yes,
it
am I the
sounded
only
like a
one?
torture.
No, am I the only one? Maybe it's not for you. In which case, I'm very happy for you.
Yeah, no, for me it's the opposite, but I was just intrigued. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when, if I'm not sure if it was ChatGPT, but this AI LLM was first, or in the initial days, one of the things people made this model do was to make it write an entire book. And somebody has even published books written by ChatGPT, or novels for that matter, or a collection of poetry. I remember in Malayalam it came, I guess, in the local language, a collection of poems entirely written by ChatGPT. So maybe they were doing it out of curiosity, or maybe they were testing how much this machine can do, or how, or maybe even some anxious authors would be, willing to test if their job or their, work was in any form of threat immediately. So, Anna, I will also ask you the same question. I'll paraphrase the question. How is AI changing the way you write, if it is changing you at all?
Yeah. How is AI changing? I mean, what you said about these books who are just puked out in a sense. Also it's, I think there's a problem when we just have books like that, and that's then considered to be literature. Obviously, it's fed of sentences of all sorts, but it's rather boring, yeah? And we don't want to have the boredom all the time around us. But if you're getting to use that this is what is not boring, that is culture, then there's a shift. And we are then actually getting bored about really heavy books, which are a bit complicated, which you don't understand. Yeah.
And this will also lead us to an important question, the ethics behind AI. Maybe Amrita, I understand you also work as a professional in the something related to, you're an engineer related to AI, if not AI itself. So, and in your novel, you are concerned with, or one character is, again and again concerned with the ethical concerns. And somebody says AI engineers can't really work alone. They have to consult anthropologists, they have to consult maybe philosophers, linguists, people from other social or human science disciplines. So how do we understand the ethics behind AI?
That's also a very big question. I mean, all I can say is, because technology like AI based systems increasingly control and govern our lives and often make decisions for us, right? Decisions for us are made by tech based systems. So it's important to ask, who has built this system and whom was it designed for? And there are two very famous examples of, the inherent bias in AI based systems. One is, and these are all a few years old, so I apologize if the audience is already familiar with this. One was, a software system that Amazon was using for recruiting, where this screening tool was looking at resumes and shortlisting a very small subset for human review. And this went on for quite some time. And then somebody, I can't remember if it was internal or external, somebody analyzed the system and realized that it was disproportionately picking men over women. I mean, who built this system? What was it trained on? It was built by existing Amazon engineers. And it was trained on the resumes of people who already work at Amazon, most of whom at that point were men. And instead of, distilling parts of the resume that really captured why those people had been hired, the AI models made some biased generalizations. So it was discriminating against keywords like women's volleyball or women's basketball. It was giving lower scores to women only universities, not deliberately. I mean, AI itself has no moral compass, right? This is just what it had learned from the data that it had seen. And nobody internally caught it, because why would they? It was, I mean, I suppose it was mimicking the world that they already lived in, reinforcing the world they already lived in. Another example is initial versions of facial recognition tech worked much better on Caucasian people than people of color. It worked better on white faces than black and brown faces. Again, because the data it had been trained on was primarily collected from Caucasian populations in Western countries. And the same thing works on, diagnostic and screening tools in health. If you have an AI system that's trained on data from the West, it will not work very well on Indian populations. And they'll get incorrect medical advice, right? So it has real world consequences as well. So yeah, the question of ethics in AI is vast, and I mean, the first thing one needs to focus on is whether AI is needed at all. And, having a more human centered approach to building AI solutions starts with asking, what is the problem this AI system is solving? Does it really need AI? Who is it that the system is supposed to solve this problem for? And what is their articulation of the problem? Once you get past that, you need to make sure you're designing for safety, for transparency, for inclusivity. This is a vast field, But one way to, get closer to responsible AI is by having a diverse set of people, a diverse set of perspectives in the teams that build AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the interesting thing is that this bias is coming from the youth, obviously. So, are we the last human generation? I mean, so we have really to look at us and as the humans and start. That's a starting point. Huh?
Yes, and recently I came across, maybe it was on Twitter or somewhere, somebody posted that ChatGPT has an upper caste bias. So your point actually explains why it appears in the first place. So in Indian context, the millions of pages that have been fed into the machine for its training must have been this bias, upper caste bias, maybe a Dalit perspective was missing in most of those pages. So usually, so naturally, when ChatGPT produces text that would also carry this. Is it the way how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's another famous example where if you, I'm sure the newer generation of models have fixed this, but if you, I think if you give these two lines, the doctor and the nurse, walked into the room. He told her to open the door, right? So, who told whom to open the door? And for the longest time, all models said the doctor told the nurse to open the door or to do complete some action. So the model inferred that he was a doctor, she was a nurse. Uh, is the model sexist? No. The model has been trained on, on all text on the internet. All text on the internet has human biases, right? And those human biases then get amplified. I think the difference is a lot of people assume, I mean, the general population assume that if something is coming from an AI system, from a tech based system, it's absolutely correct, right? We are much more comfortable confronting and challenging a fellow human being, which is also very difficult in many settings because of power differentials. But we assume that technology is objective, but technology is not objective, and AI is definitely not objective. It is built on, it is the sum of human knowledge, which is very, very bad. And not all human knowledge. It's the sum of the human knowledge that it's trained on, right? It's trained on codified human knowledge, which is a very biased version of actual knowledge out there.
So the coding part. So it depends on how you are coding this particular model. And in your book, one character, this Bhaskar, I think, he says he talks to his LLM model, and at one point he gets angry and he says, "I will kill you. It takes only one line of coding for me to make you disappear without a trace." So yeah, it explains. Whatever you see, whatever we see on AI is not self-made, but there is someone behind it and the data that has been fed into it. And now I will get Anna's response to the more or less the same question. You're talking about education and technology, or we nowadays I think we call it ed tech, education technology. It's a big thing. You can't possibly escape from. I am a person coming from educational sector, and I meet a lot of students regularly who are using this apps and other things that will help them learn better and quicker, quote unquote. And one of the things I would like to say here is, one of my students recently said, if the teacher is saying something important or worthwhile for them to listen to, they would listen. And if they feel the teacher is wasting their time by coming to the class and blabbering something, they would immediately switch off their mind. I mean, they would stop attending and they would turn to their smartphones where they have a lot of things, including these chatbots and all. But to my surprise, I also came to know that the most things they do in such times are sharing, memes or reels with each other to the people in the same room. Okay. So without knowing the teacher, I mean, the teacher would have no clue. He would be or she would be teaching very, eagerly, and the students in front of him would be sharing reels within themselves. So how do you think, technology would change or influence education? What could be the future of all this? I mean, this is a broad question. I'm sorry to be asking very large, broad questions, but you may answer from, a particular point of view or in a limited sense.
Yeah, it is a really huge question. I think it will be introduced more and more. I think the ed tech has a lot of force, and they push it. There is a big interest behind it. Again, it's linked to profit. So I think, yeah, it's so full of advertising language, and I think it's not the time yet that people are maybe looking at the language that is used to give them something which is not good for them. It's a bit like with fast food: buy it. It's this big portions, this and that. And then actually the nutritive factor is very low. So nutritional factor is very low. So I guess there will come a time where we look at it back and say, oh, how could we only do that, and haven't focused more on teaching skills, being a good teacher, so actually students are not bored and a meme is more interesting. Yeah, and it is really interesting how a narrative is built around it in all positive, in the most positive way, and I'm very skeptical about it then if I only hear a very positive message.
Exactly. So we tend to, in India, we have a popular internet meme where we say, my parent used to walk 15 kilometers to go to his school. And that's how he raised me. Not me personally. It's an overall meme in, an internet meme. I think it gets relatable everywhere, all over in India, maybe in this area of region of South Asia as well. So we say my parents used to walk 15 kilometers to reach their school, and I did not have to do that because there were transportation facilities. But now to my kids in future, I would say I had to read hundreds of pages to summarize a book. And now you have AI, this ChatGPT, which will do it for you in just 5 seconds. So that is the, that's the growth we are witnessing. And I think we are coming to the end of this discussion, and I will ask one question. You may both answer very briefly. Are we going to see an AI apocalypse? If brief replies. Okay.
Are you and I going to see it? Probably not. Future generations, maybe. And this is a wildly optimistic answer that if there's an AI apocalypse, probably, hopefully, not in our lifetimes.
Yes.
You said the same. Okay. So because I figured out we have Amrita is an engineer, and she's somewhat optimistic about the use and the future of AI. And Anna, she told me she was you were skeptical, skeptical, conscious. Yeah, in fact, we are all conscious of the
Cautious.
cautious. Cautious of the dangers of technology. Amrita says psychopathic.
I want to add I'm optimistic with a dose of healthy skepticism as well.
Optimism with a dose of healthy skepticism. And with that note, we conclude the discussion here. Now we will take a few questions from the audience.
I have two questions actually, one for Amrita and one for Anna. The question for Amrita is that you mentioned that we are in the developing stages of AI, and a day might come when AI could write as good as you. So will that, when that day comes, will it be, can we say that we are the last human writers? The question to Anna is that you are writing in the context of education. There was a book I read a few years back. It was written by Isaac Asimov, and it was the title of the book was "The Fun They Had." And in that, the schools don't exist, and the teachers are all robots. And the robots, they teach students from their homes. And one day, a robot malfunctions, and the kids there, they talk about a day when schools existed. So could it be that are we the last teachers? Could AI, replace teachers? That's the question for Anna. Thank you.
This doesn't answer your question directly, but for me, you were talking about AI apocalypse. A very small, harmless version of the AI apocalypse is going to LinkedIn, where you can say that 70% of the posts are clearly written using AI. But that's not all. 100% of the comments, or at least 95% of the comments, are also written using AI. So it's AI doing the writing, AI doing the reading, AI doing the responding. There's no human left on LinkedIn at all. Um, I hope that's not what happens to literary culture. Um, because if we are the last human writers, I would say soon there'll be no human readers left as well. I think an analogy is handloom and powerloom, right? Maybe 200 years ago, all textiles were made by hand, and then maybe 200, 250 years ago, then machine looms came in. But there is still, among more discerning textile enthusiasts, there is an appreciation for textiles that are made by hand. I wonder if 20 years from now, and what really draws the trained eye to handloom is the small imperfections, right? The small imperfections, the texture. I wonder if discerning human readers will learn to look for the same texture in human writing, and we'll market human writing the same way. This is written by a human. There may be small imperfections, there may be small inconsistencies. I have answered this in a light-hearted tone, but this is something I'm very worried about. I do want to say.
Yeah, so I try to answer your question, which is a very good question. Are we the last teachers? And no, I don't think so. I don't hope so, because learning is not about learning facts. You might think, okay, I just learn it, whatever, get and tick some answers, and that's it. I mean, learning is being socialized, it's being together. It's a community, building a community, reacting to people. So obviously, a machine can never do that, and there's no heart pumping in a machine. So no, we are not the last teachers. Yeah.
Welcome to KLF, and I have a question. Like now, AI has started to write short stories in a kind of called Google Classroom. So, do you think that the future it will be the danger for the future grannies, so that they can't think in creative to teach their childrens, because AI is taking their short stories and conveying of traditional stories in its way. So, how do you see that?
Yeah, the grandmothers in future, would they struggle to tell their grandchildren the stories with moral presence? That's what you say.
Yeah.
Because AI is teaching them now. The
See,
future.
I have no experience with being a grandmother. I have some experience with being a mother, and I can tell you that. And my son loves stories. I tell him stories every night. We have a house full of books, but he still wants me to tell him stories. Uh, and that particular interaction I'm not worried about, because it's not about the story that's being told. It's about the connection between parent and child, or between grandparent and grandchild. AI may be able to come up with the best, most personalized story. It's not going to replace that connection. No, not at all. I'm not worried at all.
Yeah.
Hello, it was a nice session. And as Anna said, education is always a partnership program. We give, we take, but the writer goes through this process by himself or herself. The writing process, the creative process, the analysis, everything goes on within the writer. So when AI takes over, it is actually an extension of his question. Does it mean it is a apocalyptic end to human creativity? Is AI creating boundaries to human creativity? Because though we feel that we are being enhanced in creativity, we feel a limitation. Many think that AI can do this, especially the students. I'm also a teacher. I know the project when the projects come in, when the assignments come in, it is not their creativity. So what happens to the coming generation of writers, or what happens in the future process? I would like to know your intake. I know you can't predict the future, but what is your insight on that? I would love to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I can't read the future. But the question is, what is creativity and what is a creative process? And there's one shortcut, and AI is always a shortcut, and it might be very tempting, as you said. But creativity is really you if you feel the taste once on your tongue, you want more because it's like flashing, you know. It gives you life, it gives you something back. And maybe when the students can feel that as well, that actually how they can work themselves with language, they might be totally bored about, yeah, if they're just copying whatever is said there. Although I have a 13 years old daughter, and I can also see that this is very tempting. And my lectures about creativity, I'm not so sure. But you can also introduce them to this, give them a taste how they can. It's like play, you know, playful, how they can play with language themselves, even if it's actually a boring text. I think it can work.
Yeah, and the only thing I want to add is I hope we can continue to preserve these spaces where children in particular can get a taste of being creative, right? I'm a big believer in screen-free play for younger children, even for older children. And I hope schools in particular can help create and protect these spaces where children can learn to exercise their creative muscles, and then hopefully then after that they'll see the value in resisting using AI for everything.
So you talked about the transformation from the handloom to the powerloom industry, and now the couture fashion or handmade fashions are only accessible to the rich people mostly. So do you think in the future art written by real humans will become so elitist that it will be only accessible to the rich people, while people in the poor structure will have to do with art made cheaply by AI?
I hope not. That would be truly dystopian. That thought did occur to me as I was answering the previous question about handloom versus powerloom. But it's not just AI, right? I mean, if you look at social media, there's just so much garbage, short form content, some created by humans, unfortunately, and some created by AI. It's not like we can blame all of it on AI either. So, attention spans are shrinking, and it is changing our capacity to read serious works, to engage with good art. Uh, I hope it doesn't, I hope it doesn't create a chasm along class lines, but it is something I am worried about. And I'm very glad that there are spaces where everybody can be a part of this conversation. And I want everyone to be aware of consuming bad content does to your attention, does to your capacity to consume or engage with good art, good writing. Um, if not, then I'm very worried about the future.
Okay, so with that, we will wind this session up here. I thank all the audience, my co-panelists, Amrita Mahale and Anna-Elisabeth Mayer. It was a wonderful discussion. So thank you very much, everyone.